Our next guest is someone who you have more than likely seen more than a handful of times and maybe didn't even realize it. Stone Cold, Batman Returns, Cliffhanger, and one of my personal favorites, Edward Norton, beside The Italian Job, are just a handful of his damn near 100 film and television credits. Many know him as his crate from Bosch, but he'll always be Luther from Always Sunny to Us. Gregory Scott Cummins, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, just a pleasure. That was a great introduction. Can you just like follow me around on that day and tell me how wonderful
I surely will. You got it, brother.
You are great, man.
All right.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, sir. You grew up in Northern California, getting your start in acting on the stage and theater productions and receiving your Master in Fine Arts degree from UCLA. So we're interested, what sparked your interest in acting to begin with?
Oh, gosh. Well, I did it in junior high. I played I was very shy when I was a kid, and I really could get two sentences out of me back to back in public. I was kind of very reserved, and they had these auditions for a play and a Christmas Carol, and they did improv, and I just kind of went out and just all of a sudden became somebody else. Started ordering other people around, pretending to be my dad, and they just said, okay, that's Scrooge. And I did Scrooge, and I really enjoyed it. And they let me in all of the 2 years, 7th and 8th grade, where you're only allowed to do it one semester. And, I couldn't do it through high school because I needed to get a athletic scholarship to college because we didn't have a lot of money. My dad got a little sick when I was young. So in college, I was looking for classes at Berkeley, and I was playing football there at Cal. And so I just decided, well, I need a break from these classes because they're brutal at Cal Berkeley. And I started taking some classes, and I just always really liked them. I just kind of kept going with it all through my basically 6 years of undergraduate school and 2-year master program. So later at UCLA, and then so I went to UCLA, and I think with the training at UCLA, it really gave me the foundation where I felt like I could go in and compete ability-wise with the people that were out there, and
Okay.
So
All right. Let me ask you this really quick. Trivia time here. What do you think you, Carl Weathers, Terry Crews, and O.J. Simpson all have in common?
And Brian Bosworth.
Oh, very good. Fuck you. Oh,
Carl
you know what I'm
Weathers.
glad. Fuck yeah.
Carl Weathers.
Yes.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers, O.J. Simpson, Terry Crews, and Brian Bosworth. Very good. Thank you.
Well,
we're missing. And we're missing someone. What's that guy on Fox Sports? I'm not asking you, and I'm asking him. I can't think of his name right. Howie Long.
Yeah, well, they all play pro football. Let's see. I'm thinking with team. Howie was obviously the Raiders. I'm not sure where Terry played.
I'll help you out. You guys are all athletes that went into film, and so we're always. Being that neither me or him or an athlete, well, I'm a professional runner now, so I'm a new athlete, but we're not really into athletics. We're into movies. So I want to go into this real quick. Before we get into your roles in front of the camera, we'd like to talk about your role on the football field. You were a starting punter at UC Berkeley in 74 and 75, and then played for the University of Hawaii. Had to be the best job in the world in 77 and 78.
When I had a chance to go there, I said, just call the coach. He wants me. I'm gone.
I am there. I'd go back right now. That was in 77 and 78, where you named best punter in its 40th year history in 1991. Now,
how do you know? How do you remember? Where did you find all this?
We can't tell you. Now, we told you we wouldn't be on TV. Now, the Green Bay Packers really wanted you, but he wrote that part. Fuckery happened when your agent that it didn't happen the way you wanted to, and you wound up signing with the San Diego Chargers before being released.
The next year I ended up sitting out. I had a bad experience with Lee Steinberg. Green Bay had me coming out in 79 as the number one punter coming out of the draft in the country. And they had me on the phone during the draft, so they didn't draft me. They made me promise to sign and come with them. But back in those days, we weren't on TV out in Hawaii. So, and then I got Steinberg, and he said, well, they got 10 rookie punters going into camp. I'll get you somewhere else where you just competing against an incumbent punter. And like an idiot, I listened to him, and I found out later he had a couple people that signed with him that were punters that were competing against him. He didn't want me going to the same camp. And he didn't realize that my head coaches, who told me later when I didn't go, he said, they were watching you for 2 years. They had you as the number one punter in the country.
Wow.
Even though your average was the highest average, but your hang time was like Ray Guy, averaging about 5.5, 5.6 hang time per punt. Get off time was way faster. Great guy. In terms of kicking out of bounds, I could kick 9 out of 10 ball. I had 32 balls out of 69 punts my junior year in Hawaii that were out of bounds inside the 10-yard line, not the 20. And then I could kick for distance. We led the nation at punting as well. So I did not a lot of return yardage.
So for our people out there, especially David, you may not know this, but sports agents are supposed to do what's in the best interest of the client.
I've seen Jerry Maguire.
Oh, you saw Jerry Maguire, so you know all about it. Let me ask you this personally: how does it feel to know you were just called one of the best punters out there, and then think that this is where your life is going to go, and then it take a complete 180?
Yeah, it was a shock. And the next year with the Chargers, I ended up sitting out the year, and the only reason I didn't continue, I tore my right thigh muscle from the knee to the hip. I'm just ripped the heck out of it during camp, and they released me, and I just kind of didn't. I was only getting, they were only paying like $33,000 a year then, and I kind of go, well, geez, I don't want to be a 26-year-old rookie punter, 25-year-old or whatever it would have been. So I just kind of I let it go, and it was a shock. It was a shock because everybody that I knew, everybody I played with in college, I played against, everybody just because my place kicker friend Jim Breach, we went in both as freshmen in '74 at Cal, and he was the starting place kicker, and I was the starting punter, and he had a 16-year career with the Cincinnati Bengals, the place kicker, and so everybody that knew me from Hawaii just basically, it was just kind of shocked that I didn't have a long career, and so was I. But stuff happens. There are a lot of talented people. Injuries happen. And there's a lot of things sometimes that get in the way. Sometimes, I've said in another interview, sometimes when inexplicably a door closes, sometimes that's the reason it's meant to be, and another door opens. You just don't know. So I was kind of upset about it for a while when I was younger, but I still think about it occasionally but I actually should have stayed with baseball when I was at Cal. I was drafted by the A's as a shortstop. So, and I always regret the reason that I ended up giving up baseball is the coach tricked me into not going out for spring ball when I turned down going to the A's after being drafted by them in '78. 74. I'm sorry, out of high school, and spring of '74, summer of '74 during the draft, and so basically I had the football scholarship with him. I turned down the baseball scholarship to UOP in San Jose State because I wanted to go to Cal. And he said I could play ball in the spring. And then he changed his mind in the spring after he said anybody who goes out for spring ball loses their scholarship. And I kind of I could have left. I could have gone to one of those other schools and played baseball too and done it. But I had a bird in the hand. I had.
Two things really quick before you go. Number one, you may be the most, I'm just now realizing that you may be the most accomplished guest we've ever talked to.
In spite of all of the people
yes.
representing.
Well, I'm definitely probably the best looking.
Exactly. And number two,
that's a given. Yeah.
And number two, kids, you don't need anybody. If you believe in yourself, don't get an agent. Don't get a coach. Just do you. Go, Dave.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you got much better representation these days. So.
Oh yeah, no, Well, I learned a lot, and you have to take control, and you can take advice from people, but you have to make your decision. You don't want to rely on somebody else to, you got to do what feels right inside. And when I was younger, I didn't understand that concept. You got to kind of go with what you feel in your gut.
Yeah. So getting back to the films in 1989, I'm going through your filmography, and you starred in the lead in a film called Action USA. And I have not seen it, but I watched a lot of clips and trailers, and I went down the rabbit. It looks fucking ludicrous and amazing at the same time. It's like a balls to the wall action film. It's also directed by a stuntman named Jon Stewart, someone you worked with. Click, Calendar Girl, Killer, Cartel, both in 1990. I saw a cover for Action USA. It has boobs on display on the front. The back of it is literally just photos of female characters getting beat up. This is like the epitome of awesome 80s action craziness with no apologies. What was that production like to work on?
Well, you have to understand the 80s, and it was action and violence, action, and a little TNA.
As they say in Always Sunny, he goes out, he
kids,
he comes back, he bangs the girl.
For all my 14-year-old adolescent teens out there, TNA is tits and ass.
So, exactly. So, a lot of the A-grade films like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, all those, they were big budget action features, or you had Smokey and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds, which is a higher budget action, but comedy tongue in cheek. That's what I kind of compare Action USA to, only lower budget. But again, they wrote a script around how can we get all the stunt guys together and get a script where we can do all these incredible stunts and then write a script around it and then get actors for it too. And so they really kind of got the stunt guys together, wrote the script, and then got the actors to play the characters. But they had so many people lined up to do the stunts, and we went to Waco, Texas. They gave us everything for free. They gave us 50 cars to crash. They gave us houses to blow up for free. They gave us police for free to close off the streets. They did hauls out of high-rise buildings. It was wild. But they did it on very low money, but they got a lot of perks by doing it in Waco, Texas at the time, and that's what a lot of people are doing now too. That's why they're heading out of LA here and there. But it it's a fun romp. It's a tongue-in-cheek romp, action film, and hard to compete with Lethal Weapon and Die Hard and those kind of things. But I still think it's kind of fun to watch. It's tongue-in-cheek.
It looks like a real.
Let me ask you this: if they mashed all the 80s into one movie, would that be it?
It was essentially, it was just, it's every.
That's my comparison. It's kind of like a combination between Smokey and the Bandit and kind of a lower budgeted Lethal Weapon, but it has a lot. I think it's got as much action as Lethal Weapon had. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean. But that was the days where they didn't do all the special effects on the screen as much. They did the real stuff.
Yeah.
And the stuntmen on that film, they called the first unit, actors on the set are usually called first unit, and the stuntmen are called second unit or stunt crew. And but on that set, it's kind of funny. They called the stunt crew first unit and the actors second unit, which always kind of made me laugh.
You're in our world now. Yeah. And going through your filmography, we noticed a running theme of you starring in films, quite a bit of films that are directed by stuntmen. You starred in WB Blue and the Bean, or Bailout, as it's also called, also in 1989, directed by Max
That was my
Cleven.
first union film, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
SAG.
Batman Returns. He did the stunts for Batman Returns, which you'd also go on to work on. WB Blue and the Beam would result in you being introduced to the agency that still represents you to this day. An introduction that was facilitated by your co-star, Turning Heads, Linda Blair.
Yeah.
And it seems you and Linda kept in touch. I saw a picture of you guys at the Cliffhanger premiere a few years later. So what was that whole experience like for you getting signed?
Oh, well, it was great. I got hired through the same casting director that cast me on Action USA, actually. And then I met this wonderful director who was the stunt coordinator for all the Clint Eastwood movies for years, Max Cleven. And he was doing his own independent film funded by himself and David Hasselhoff. And David was in between Knight Rider and before he created Baywatch. So he was looking for something to do. And then he got Linda in it. And so I met them when I was casted. I played a South American drug smuggler. I dyed my hair kind of black. I speak Spanish kind of. So I did my generic South American accent. And, people from South America, like I'm half Italian, there are a lot of blue eyes in Italy too. So South America doesn't mean you can't have light hair and blue eyes. And I did my Fernando Lamas accent. I didn't do the Colombian, like Al Pacino in what's the name?
Scarface.
Yeah, it's Scotty. Yeah, you're a very young man.
He hasn't seen that yet.
Yeah, you haven't seen Scarface.
Or Goodfellas.
You must see Scarface. But now I'm going into Russian. I just easy to jump from.
Hey man, all I got is my balls and my word. That's all I got is my balls and my word.
It's easy to go from Spanish to Russian. I got to tell you, but just off the cuff. But I just did the generic accent, and I got the role. And then they were kind of like amazed. Caucasian white guy could kind of go play a Latin, dashing drug dealer, drug kingpin, and Linda recommended to my agent Charles Clay, and he moved in with Josh Iwitz, and then they've been my agent since for over 30, maybe 33 years now. And
awesome.
So that was, and Lynn and I stayed in touch for a while, and then we kind of lost touch there about 15 years ago. I can't remember why, but life happens. People go off to other things. But Linda was a very good friend back then. Yes, absolutely.
Working with another stuntman turned director, you starred in Stone Cold. This was directed by Craig R. Baxley. Stone Cold was another fun film with a great cast: Brian Bosworth, Lance Henriksen, William Forsythe, Sam McMurray. I caught this movie one night on Cinemax, like in the late 90s, late at night. I instantly loved it. There's something really cool about it. Do you have any memories that stand out from the production, your role as AWOL? And
gosh. Well, gosh, that was a neat film for me. Nice 3.5 months shooting in the summer in full biker leathers and outside in 105-degree, 100% humidity heat.
So hot.
But we shot in Mississippi, in Biloxi, and then we went to Little Rock. We were going to go to Alabama, but Bill Clinton, governor of Arkansas, said, come on over to Little Rock, and we filmed at the state capitol in Little Rock for the action sequences there at the state capitol at the end. But that's kind of, I've actually gotten jobs from that film where people were looking for bad guys. They said, go look. It's kind of like really cult biker film. It's I don't know if there's been any biker film that's been made after that was, it's become fairly well known for that time period. It holds up.
It definitely does.
Did you and
William Forsythe? Yeah.
You and Bosworth toss the pigskin around in between scenes?
No.
Oh my gosh. So
hey. He was a linebacker. I don't think they like punters much.
Did you ever watch that 30 for 30 on Brian Bosworth?
No.
You should.
Yeah.
In 1992, or still in 1992, as far as at least your IMDb is concerned, this is the first time of many times that your paths would cross with Danny DeVito. You'd star in Batman Returns, of course, by the legendary storyteller Tim Burton. You played the main acrobat thug. What was it like working on a Tim Burton set?
Well, that one right there is, again, that was Max Clement who hired me for that after I did that first film with him, and just a little story. He really is one of the stunt person of that role who just did stunts, not an actor who does stunts. And I read, like, for Tim Burton, like he took like 100 actors to Tim Burton. And he didn't like their readings. It was just one line. It was just one line. That's all. And then Max called me up at home and he said, "Well, Greg, I got a role here in Batman Returns. Now, it's just one line. I don't know if you're interested in doing it." And I said, "Batman Returns, Tim Burton? Yeah." And he said, "Well, okay, well, come on in." And he just wants to read the line. And I went in the next day and just said the one line. I'm not really one for speeches, so just saying thanks, and I kind of did that little kind of Jack Nicholson thing at the end, and he said, "Oh, okay, you're hired," and he kind of just walked away. And I was kind of intimidated by him because he didn't talk to me much at all, but it was incredible. I mean, that was before I did Cliffhanger, so that they had 5 sets of Warner Brothers Studios that were 2 football fields long and 6 stories high, of different sets, all the different unbelievable penguins and all the stuff that they had, the sewers underground, the city, everything was on the set. It was a massive production. It was a monster. And they had name actors just wanting to get in for a little one-line cameo. But just to be on it was huge. And again, I was just starting out. That was just right after I did Stone Cold, really. Just a year and a half after. So, and then that was just a great movie. Danny DeVito was doing his like 3.5 hour makeup job to get into the Penguin every day. Next, I'd have about an hour and a half to do my makeup. And then, so I'd sit next to him every day in the trailer, and they kept me on for like 12 or 13 weeks.
I'm sorry. That was going to be my question was if you had any interaction with Danny DeVito, because I know such a circumstance.
Yeah. Although he didn't, when I did Sonny later, I had to remind him because I was just a smaller character then. And, he was, he had all
that answers my next question.
Yes.
And I had that, but I reminded him of that. And then we hit it off on Sonny. and he's great.
And he had you in a short film too.
And what a he's
really quick. Let me ask you this: are you familiar with Are you a fan of Batman or the Batman lore, or did you just do it because you knew it was a big budget? And there's a reason why I'm asking that.
Well, it was an A-grade big budget film.
Right. No, I'm asking that because I want to. Let me ask you this: do you know I'll ask you this: do you know the creator of Batman?
No.
In every magazine you'll see up until 2017, any comic book, any movie, anything like that, it's going to say Bob Kane. You may know the name, but however, that's not actually true. He's the co-creator of it. The real creator of Batman is named Bill Finger. I only say that when you get some free time, go on Hulu. There's a documentary called Batman and Bill, and it'll show how Bob Kane took credit for his entire life for what Bill Finger did. Just a career. Brother, it's an hour 45 of pure magic. Trust me.
Wow.
He created the Joker, Gotham City, Robin, all of that. And Bob Kane took credit for all of it to his death.
Oh my God.
I'm just letting him know.
I didn't know.
Neither did I, but I'm just telling you so you can tell somebody else. Bill Finger, baby. Keep going. Oh, it's my time. All right, so we're gonna keep going here, but just take that out when you get it. Message David when you watch it and be like, hey, Mr. Royal was right.
And we'll get back to Danny DeVito real soon.
Real soon. So let me ask you this. You started another blockbuster shortly after. Let me say this the right way. This is for you, Sly. Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger. Released in 1993. Me and him are in our early teens watching Silk Stockings trying to get any side boob we can. What was the production like to work on Up in the Cold Mountains with Sly Stallone?
Oh, please. Well, I saw John Lithgow about 10 years when he was working on Third Rock from the Sun after we did that film. And we just looked at each other and said, and we both said at the same time, was that the most incredible adventure that you've ever done in this movie industry? And we both completely agreed. It was unbelievable. And Stallone said that, he said it when it was cast. He said, you're not going to believe where we're going to go to film, and it's going to be an amazing experience. And it was. Oh my! Now it was really brutal, difficult, cold, high altitude. And all
it felt practical, though.
But,
it didn't
but
feel
my
made up.
Gosh, we hanging off of mountaintops and choppering up to mountaintops and rappelling down and working with the best mountain climbers in the world and being out in the beauty of the Italian Alps and the crew and the other actors. It was an unbelievable experience. I don't think it could ever be not matched by me to this day, but it was incredible. Absolutely.
That as far as you guys going on set to do that, I watched that as a child or a teenager, and I knew it wasn't like CGI or made up. You felt the elements. Is that perfect? Can I say that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, if you see any close up that's in the movie, most of the close-ups were done in studio where they recreated the rocks because you couldn't get a camera, at 12,000 feet outside on a mountain. So they did have cranes coming from the top and come out and down. And there were times we were on the mountain where a crane came up and down and shot us climbing, and it was the real mountain. But for a lot of the dialogue shots and stuff like that, they had to come in and recreate the mountains and the snow and do, or like even my sliding fighting scene where I die and I fly off the cliff and Stallone catches himself. And that was shot basically on a stage, 200-foot stage of thick, coarse salt. And we laid on a cardboard and they turned the camera sideways and they ran a truck back and forth. For 2 days, we were fighting each other, running back and forth sliding with just under the salt line, this arm from the truck, and it would go 200 yards, and we would do the fighting over and over, and we were getting salt in our face and our eyes and ears.
Like but Gail the snail.
Yeah, but it was funny. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and it was just amazing. I'd never been in a production of that scope before, and that financial backing. That at the time, that was the most expensive film that had ever been shot.
Well, and it's
101 million at the time, back in 1990.
I think they made it back. I'm pretty sure they made it back.
It still holds the record.
Yeah.
The crazy part about it, that's not the only legendary director that you've actually worked with here. If I'm not mistaken here, and if you ask me if I'm starting to get a little bit jealous, I'm not going to lie to you. I am. You worked with Michael Cimino, director of The Deer Hunter in 1996. And again, you worked with another, there was another feature film you worked in, The Sunchaser, and this guy's in my top 25 club. I call it 25 Live. actors that are still alive, and they're in my top 25. Motherfucking Woody Harrelson. What was that experience like?
Oh, please. Well, I jumped from one to the other. Michael Cimino, just to even work with him after Deer Hunting, and that was just, for me when I was 18, I think that came out in '74, something like that. Incredible. And so it was amazing. I mean, I was working at the start of my career with these behemoth legends. Avildsen directed the first Rocky, for God's sake. I mean,
say it again. Now, and you know what time it is. It's time to get your street cred up. So I'm going to throw on the hood here a little bit. Shout out Trayvon. Year's 1997. Let's get gang related with Tupac Shakur and Jim Belushi. There's your drugs. There's your gangster. This was actually Tupac's last film. He'd be murdered, unfortunately, rest in peace, God rest his soul, less than a month after the production wrapped. So not only were you in the film, you're in Tupac Shakur's last film, more than likely one of Jim Belushi's last films as well. You're thinking of John. I know who I'm saying. I know what I was doing there. John Belushi, Jim Belushi. I'm messing with you here. But again, there's your drugs and there's your gangster. So let me ask you this. What was your experience like with the great Tupac? And I mean, not even great. Iconic is really the word. Tupac Shakur in his last film.
Beyond iconic. As big as it gets. And I got to tell you, I worked a bunch of days on that film, maybe 5 separate days on different days. But the last day of the shoot was the Friday before he got shot in Vegas on Sunday.
Good God.
And that's when I worked with Tupac. And he was the nicest guy in the world. And
do not tell his fans that. Do not tell his fans that. But I believe you. I believe you.
He was so, he was sweet and nice and sense of humor and laughed. And we were all just great guy. And you could see this young innocence, just this joy. And he was so good as an actor. He was really good. The career, my God, forget the music, what the acting. I mean, the sky was the limit with him. It was so tragic.
I tell people this sometime that just like with him with DMX, I love him and DMX music. I love it. I'll listen to it any day of the week. But it goes to show you so many actors, and not just in urban areas, in third world countries and other places in the world. There's so many great actors and actresses that you've never heard of because of their conditions and the situation. So I love when the Tupac Shakurs and the DMXs come out of the Nick Noltes come out of this world of like alcoholism and drugism, and you shouldn't make it. And we see how great they are. What I want to know sometimes is how great are they that great because of their conditions, or would they have been that great despite of their conditions?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and his acting was great, his music was great, but a lot of people don't know that he had books of poetry.
Yes, there's a college class. There's a college course dedicated to Tupac Shakur and his poetry.
Oh, it'll be studied. It's like the kind of poetry that you'll study 50 years from now to understand the conditions.
I guess he really is Dead Poet Society.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Jeb Stewart, the writer responsible for Die Hard, Another 48 Hours, The Fugitive. He also directed 2 films, and you were in the first, which he also wrote, 1997 Switchback with Danny Glover, and reunited you with gang-related co-star Dennis Quaid. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that was a fun one. I can't remember if I got that after Last of the Dogmen or before. I remember that, but it was with this. I think they were both with Paramount, so I think that's how I was connected with that. And that was wonderful. I was so excited. I didn't have any scenes with Quaid. I worked with his brother Randy on a thing called on a TV Western that's now a feature called Purgatory. But how did you guys? Their research is amazing.
Say that again, because I don't think the people in the back heard.
Your research is amazing. You remember more than I do, and you've got it all locked in your head. You're remembering things that I am bringing me back, but it's just amazing. But let me finish with the. Where was I?
Purgatory.
No.
No, before that.
No. Working with Danny Glover.
Yes.
Yeah. And I got to work with him in those scenes, and that was so exciting for me because anytime I'm starting out and I'm kind of getting going then, but anytime I'm working with a name or a star, it's a big deal. I came from a world where the athletes, to me, athletes were really a big deal. But as an actor, when you're working, it is pretty amazing to see and work with people that have been up on the screen that you used to watch, and they're huge stars, and then you work with them and they're just so nice. And 99.999% of the time, they're just, everybody I've worked with mostly is absolutely wonderful. Danny was just wonderful. It just, and I gotta tell you, I just got a kick. I've even got that scene on my demo clips, my demo reel for for casting directors with him. And
well, I just want to tell you this: from one Danny Glover fan to another, you're not getting too old for this shit. See what I did there? Damn.
Well, the bones are feeling it now. But
we're gonna go on a quick journey here, and it's gonna end up with Avildsen and Van Damme. In 1998, you'd star in an episode of Time Cop, the TV series that was adapted from the Jean-Claude Van Damme film, and you go on to work with Van Damme in 1999's Inferno, also called Coyote Moon or Desert Heat, depending on where you're getting it. The final film directed by the great John Avildsen, who, of course, like you said, Rocky, Karate Kid trilogy, Lean on Me, one of our favorites. What was that set like to work with when you've got Avildsen, Van Damme, not to mention Pat Morita, fucking
yes,
what's the name himself, and Danny Trejo.
Yes.
Now, Danny wasn't on the set when I worked the days I worked, but Pat Morita was there doing his British accent, and he was very nice.
I'm sorry, that will always throw me off when I see him speak with his actual voice. Like, whoa, dude,
he's the epitome of don't judge a book by the cover.
He's got like almost.
Well, well, he did the accent because it was an interesting thing to do, and he had the chance to do something interesting and versatile. But I was excited to work with Avildsen and Jean-Claude as well. And that was, we were shooting way up, it's in North County above LA at a place called Lancaster, and, desert basically. And it's very hot, but, we had the scenes where we're doing the fighting and stuff, and I got killed off and all that. But Jean-Claude actually did a leg kick, and we were rehearsing it, and we were kind of just to take before the shoot. I think we were shooting it. And I get kicked in the groin. I bend forward, and then he does an up kick, and
scary.
He accidentally brought his lower shin up under my nose, and it just broke my nose. And I was just knocked out for about 8 seconds. And he swung me around the room, and I suddenly woke up on the other side of the rooms. It was a standing TKO.
I honestly thought when I was putting the question down for this film to ask you, so did you get kicked or hit by Van Damme, because he's notorious for that apparently?
Well, it was accidental. What he does is, for actors, when you do stunts, you have to keep that little third eye going. So you got to get all revved up, but you got to, and it's sometimes hard for some people. They get so revved up, they don't understand that, you don't, if the camera's here and I'm going to make a punch, I got to do that. I'm a foot away. You don't need to. If I'm going to swipe the screen and I'm going to do that, boom, and it looks like I hit him. But so you don't need to get that close a lot of time.
Listen, I'm not truly jealous of you. I just want you to know if whatever's right before jealous, you've now entered that realm for me.
Knocked out by Van Damme?
No, because he's in my King of Connections now. This motherfucker worked with Van Damme and Danny Glover. You know what the connection is. Fucking Predator 1 and Predator 2. Van Damme was supposed to be the original Predator, and he worked with Danny Glover, who was in Predator 2. Have you been stealing my credits, man?
You guys are amazing. How you're tying all this stuff together?
This is what we do, baby. Somebody researches, somebody just lives it.
I think we might.
That's amazing. That is, well, I got to tell you though, very quickly, it was okay getting my nose broken, and it's when mistakes happen. He apologized like 1,000 times, and I'm there, and we're icing, and I went back to shoot it after they did the makeup and all that, and I worked with the broken nose, finished it off, but he was so apologetic. He must have kissed me like 500 times on the cheek. I mean, no.
Oh wow!
Now speaking, he goes, and he comes up, and I'm so sorry, and he starts going.
Well, if you think we're really good, I'm gonna blow your fucking mind again here. Speaking of 1,000 times, in 2000, the year 2000, you starred in the episode of Brutally Normal, and we actually just interviewed the creator of that show, Tommy Swirlo, who did an amazing film that's now on Amazon Prime called 1,000 Junkies. What was that set like?
Oh my God, Brutally Normal. Oh. That was in that crazy work period. Oh, You know what?
Is that the writer's strike, or which period is this?
No, that was the period when I was just working show to show to show. And sometimes the shows are a blur. I remember doing it because sometimes, when you do the longer films, you remember them. But, when you work like anywhere from 7 to 9 days and then boom, you're off to something else. It's harder to remember when you just jump from show to show to show. Sometimes something stands out here or there, like if I did a Walker with Chuck Norris, then that'll stand out. I'm not going to forget that, but sometimes you just kind of lose it because you're just working that. And I remember doing Brutally Normal, but I can't remember a lot about it. Well, I got to admit, I had 18 concussions, but 9 not hospital where I was knocked out kind of concussions. The smallest one was Van Damme.
Listen, man.
About 20 years ago, I lost some things from the past. No joke. I really did. I'm dealing with some neurologists now, and I'm dealing with some memory issues, but it's just what you have to deal with. And they weren't all stunt stuff. It was some sports and car and motorcycle accidents in real life. And
well, that's just the way it is. I'm sorry to hear that, but I mean, at least the silver lining is like at least 40 to 50% of your life has been documented on video somewhere.
So you back and was it 51st dates? He can go back and watch the video every morning of what he's done. There we go.
Well, what I do is whenever I have a problem with my health or anything else goes wrong in the world, I just look in the mirror and I say, hey, but I've got this.
Oh, the face won't lie, baby. This is the face you hire.
Nobody else has this.
Say it again.
It always makes me feel. And I kiss the mirror a lot. I do that a lot.
That's a great message.
This guy right here, we call him King Humble. You're speaking his language.
Yeah. Well, my nickname is Mr. Good Looking. So and
at least I didn't take that.
Mr. Good Looking.
He's sexy chocolate man.
I am.
Well,
I am. Hey, Hershey's kiss my ass. Now, with that being said, I promise you, I know I said I wasn't getting jealous. I'll apologize because I'm now at the lowest level of jealousy when I read this next one or when I tell you this next one. It's 2003. You started an Italian Job. Edward Norton, you sick son of a bitch. This is your second mention. Now, which was directed by the great F. Gary Gray. F. Gary Gray, meaning if you want to move fast, here's the connection. Fast and Furious, F. Gary Gray, and the Italian Job, Cars That Go Fast. Yeah. Now, this would be at least the second time you cross paths with him. In 1995, short film music video, Murder Was the Case.
Yeah, Snoop
Green with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and F. Gary Gray are the director. And the late great rest in goddamn peace. Hey, listen, Charlie, Mr. Murphy. What was that experience like? He played JC. What was that experience like?
Okay, for Murder Was the Case.
Yes.
Or the other one?
Both. It doesn't matter. Go.
Okay. Yes. Well, I got to tell you, I'll go chronologically. Murder Was the Case. I went to audition for the video, and I did I had long hair. I had the goatee beard, kind of looked like the devil, whatever. And I have the psycho eyes, and do the and I kind of went and did the audition, and I got it. I'm working with Dre and Snoop, and I actually didn't know what to call them because, I've been listening to rap, but it was early in the 90s. And, I was a rock and roll kind of guy. And I said, do I call you doctor? I said, or do I do,
you can call them anything.
Is it Mr. Dog or Snoop or what do I call you? And he just called me Snoop, call me Dre. I go, oh, okay. I didn't know what to. But they were so nice. It's funny though. They were kind of, when I got the makeup on and all that, and they kind of white, and I had the eyes. People were kind of backed off from me a little bit. They kind of scary.
Kind of brought up some bad memories. I'm pretty sure I don't have to explain why.
No. They were really great. It was the #1 MTV video of the year. It got me a lot of people. More so than a lot
it's
of
kind of weird though. Like you go down your whole IMDb, and if I'm not gonna lie, if I'm a producer, director, or a casting agent, I'm like, hey, what's this Murder Was the Case thing here?
I mean, he plays the devil.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah, that's
the devil's in the details in the devil. Whatever, devil's in the details. Whatever.
Yeah. But no, it was great, and the amount of people, I couldn't believe how many people were watching MTV at the time. It would rerun like 10 times, 20 times a day, and it just so the people that would see me in stores at video stores, go in. It's quite amazing. And F. Gary Gray was amazing. I kind of went into that one knowing that, all the great actors that were going to be in that, Ed Norton, Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, Donna Sutherland, for God's sake.
Yes.
So I played Russian characters. So that was my thing, character acting, doing accents. And so I kind of went in and I kind of got the kind of Russian haircut, dyed my hair a little darker to look more Ukrainian, not Russian, but Ukrainian, And I kind of did my Russian accent. But, when I did it, I didn't know who was going to be the lead bad guy. And so I started out saying, if I'd walk in, instead of just doing the lines, I said, well, I can do Russian accent like I just got off the boat. I can do it really thick like this, or I can come and I can make it lighter, and I can do it like this, and I can talk a little better, and then I kind of just did the whole audition, telling them how I could do the lighter audition where somebody who's been here 20 years and it's not so thick. It's you're just very subtle like that. So I can do really thick. I can do like that, or I can do it thinner. And I think that got me the job because I just said, I don't know where you need me to match with whoever's going to play the lead Ukrainian guy, but I can do thick, medium, or thin. And I just explained it to them while I was doing the accent. And there was only like 3 lines or 2 lines. So I think that got me the job.
Your light Russian accent sounds very similar to Teddy KGB in Rounders. Remember we did Rounders?
Yeah.
He's a very good Teddy KGB.
Oh, yeah. Well, he got, what's his line? I love that line. Oh, God, what's that line? I used to imitate it for years.
Well, there's a lot of them.
He did very theatrically thick.
Don't splash the fucking table, which was that one?
Don't splash
the pot. It's my club. I splash the pot whenever the fuck I want.
He did it exactly. He did it really, really.
Oh, you mean when I stick it in you?
Yeah, I stick it in you. Yeah, but see, he kind of took it so exaggerated, almost stage thick.
He did.
But if you actually look at people who are from Ukraine and they talk, it's not always that thick. It's a little more natural. He did it more like he was. Like the stage version where you do it full on. And if you go to German, you can do German and you can talk like this, and you can just.
Geez, you sound like Michael Fassbender now. Oh my God, you're all over the place. I like
one level, but it's you got this and that. You can say, and it can be thicker, and you can talk like this and more like that, or you can just make it a little more casual. And you
I like this.
And just do it.
Luther.
So it's just. It's doing things. So John Malkovich did it very, very thick on Rounders, but it's very imitatable.
It is.
I enjoy that movie, by the way.
I love. You should go watch our episode. We reviewed that film about a year ago. It's a very distinct breakdown. Nothing like it online.
I had a year and a half where I was a professional gambler after I got released from the Chargers. So I did gamble for a living for about a year.
We got to play. We got to play some poker sometime, man.
I stopped gambling for money just because of there's a point where you got to go. Okay,
enough's enough.
You
got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Well, and I was when you're a pro, when you're doing it for a living, you really know when to walk away because
the bills got to be paid.
Walking away when you're in a hot streak and then getting out once the cold streak stops.
I tell people this all the time.
The best with money. Yeah.
The best gamblers have the best thing in the world. It's the word starts with D and ends with E. It's called discipline. You got to know when to walk away.
And you say, I'm going to either get this amount of money or I'm going to lose this amount of money, but I'm not going to go under that. I'm not going to throw more money at a bad table. I'm not going to try to run a losing streak to get it back. Or I'm not going to get up and then say, hey, I'm in Vegas. I'm not going to come till next year. So, hey, let's go for, instead of 2,000, let's go for 10,000. And then you lose it all. So
take it and go.
You got to set your lines and you got to be very disciplined. You're absolutely right. Very much so.
All right. Before we move on, I wanted to revisit Murder in the Case real quick because he's been talking about how he's been jealous of you this whole interview. I need to know if I need to be jealous as well. Did Snoop Dogg did you get to smoke with him at all?
The sticky of the icky?
Well,
come on, man. It's 2022, bro. Just say it.
Well, just between you and I, since nobody else is going to see this, right? So it's just between us,
Mm-hmm.
No, I did not, but he did not hide the fact that he partook in a little like all the time, and not just a little. I mean, it was like it was like about the size of my wrist, like a cigar, like,
I'm almost certain Snoop Dogg showed up to his first feature film and was like, I'm not going to smoke. And he looked around at the reading, the after party, the pre-party, and saw all the drugs being done. And like, man, fuck that. Yeah, I'm smoking. I see what's going on around here.
He smoked on live television on the Comedy Central.
That's why he's here today. He embraced it. He didn't hide from it.
That's true.
I couldn't, I couldn't handle it. Makes me dizzy and nauseous, so I couldn't even.
That's just the first time, trust me.
I was a drinker. No. It's just I have an inner thing. So
I respect.
I could drink a quart of whiskey a night, but
what do you think I was just drinking here? Whiskey. There we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of drinking,
so I could really hold my liquor, but that's not necessarily a good thing. But I could. So, but I have no tolerance for for weed. Absolutely, it just makes me throw up.
He's no longer jealous of you.
I've been waiting for. Let's get to Patty's Pub. You are a recurring character, Luther Maxdad on.
Oh yeah.
I am not exaggerating here. This is the greatest comedy show to ever be on television. Not to mention the longest running.
Cool being a part of that.
It's been going for over a decade. You've shown up here and there.
15 seasons.
I've trust me. I know. I've every step of the way, multiple times. So it's cool that you're working with Danny DeVito again after Batman Returns. Of course, you got into that, but then you starred in a short film that he directed with Artemis, also from Always Sunny, called Evil Eye. So I was curious. First of all, how did you land the role of Luther? Because I know a lot of the times they look for like actors who were like really big in the 80s or like action stars or something, and they try to like reinvent them into different characters that they mentioned. And I'm wondering like how that led into Evil Eye.
Well, I just as far as getting the role in Sunny, I just kind of did my slick back hair and kind of just did my low key kind of, and I didn't try to be funny at all. I just, the guy was a dangerous, scary, and originally he was a murderer, not a drug dealer.
He eventually
cut that out of
right?
the dialogue because after I did the first episode in the second season that I did with them, they wanted to bring me back, and they figured they couldn't get a murderer out of jail.
But correct me if I'm wrong. You would go on to murder somebody, right? Or was that?
Yeah, okay. Sure. Why not? Yeah, exactly. But when I originally started, it was I had a line. He said, "Well, you did kill 6 people." I go, "Oh yeah, I did." But so I was really originally in jail for killing the 6 people, but they cut that out of the scene because they wanted to make me a drug dealer so they could get me paroled or something and bring me out later. But I just kind of did low key, and I didn't try to play it funny. Because their humor is so much off that, and I figured everybody else going in for the role would be kind of overplaying it, trying to be funny, being intimidating. Mm-hmm. And I said, let me just be really fucking badass, just like fucking dead stare.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me. And play it totally seriously. And then just let the comedy bounce off me. And I found out later from Glenn Howerton that that's the reason I got cast, is they thought it was funnier when they actually had somebody playing it a little heightened level, but really dangerous. And then it was even funnier when they played off me, or when up the butts and they do the stuff with the heroin up your anus and all that stuff.
All our butts are going to be so filled for you.
Well, what do you know about smuggling heroin through your anus?
Keistering.
I'm going to make the room stink.
And so it just went. And Danny, I got to meet as we did more episodes, and we had the family together with episodes, and he was just great. And he had me. So later on, I was in Hawaii in between seasons, and he called me, he got my home number and called me and said, "Hey, I got this video thing I want to do for online, and can you play one of the bad guys?" And brought in Artemis to play that with me, and it was it was just a little thing, because you never know. So that was the time everybody was doing stuff online, not knowing, because they were thinking of doing like a horror, like a 20-second or 15-minute little vignettes of horror scenes. And they wrote about 15 or 16 of them with different scenarios, kind of Twilight Zone-ish like, horror-like. And then if it picked on and they got a big audience, they could just, he could, because Danny was a producer. He directed Hoffa, for God's sake. He directed all these
War of the
wonderful
Roses
movies that won an Academy Award for Jack Nicholson. He's a director. He's a producer. He's done a lot of stuff after the Taxi years when he became really famous after that.
Death to Smoochie is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, we did Death to Smoochie too.
Nails dark comedy.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let me ask you this, and me and him, we don't get into a debate because I usually lend to him because I'm like a 10% fan. He's 110% fan. So I'm really still getting into the series, but we still debate on how much was improvised and how much wasn't. So how much creative liberty were you afforded on that show as far as improvising and trying things, or was it pretty much lock and key? Everything had to be right where it's
Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
They write the thing, but they're changing their lines on the spot. Anything that's funny, anything that works in the moment, anything they can think up, they are totally open to ad-libbing completely and utterly. Very rare for things in TV and film that are scripted, but that's the way they work because they all write the stuff together. Mm-hmm. They write all the episodes together, and then when they're on the set, they're just continuing and they're coming up with stuff as they're doing it, and it's just a creative melting pot. And that's why it's so fun to work with them, because it really is spontaneous. You got the line, you got the dialogue, but that's just the kind of framework. Then you just kind of go from there. You're going to kind of stick to the framework to some degree, but throwing little stuff out, the ad-libbers with Charlie, I mean, he's insane. The guy he cannot do two takes the same way. So it's just, he'll throw something out unexpected and everybody's cracking up. And then somebody else is throwing something out and everybody's cracking up. And then we have to do it one time.
Jesus, it's going down on me. Jesus, going down on me.
Yeah, it's just, so that
the Lord is going down on me. Thank you.
That's the type of show where it really leads to ad-libbing and playing the moment, especially with comedy. It really works for them. And that's the way they work on that show.
Is it because I mean you could tell sometimes they do a quick cut because Mac couldn't stop laughing or hold it together long enough, or they're always kind of cracking smiles because at the end of the day they even said they're there to try to make themselves laugh.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
But you don't have it so easy because you have to be this straight-faced, cold-blooded looking guy. But meanwhile, you got these three clowns in front of you that are talking about shoving things up their butt until the room stinks, and Mac looking at you longfully with those pathetic eyes.
A few times Charlie would have a reaction or something, and I would break and I would crack up. But I got to tell you, I try to leave that up to them as much as possible. So because I don't want to cause them to use more and more film and more time and all that. So I do try and stay concentrated as much, focused on what I'm thinking about and who I'm talking to and in character as much as I can. But it's impossible to stay in character all the time to that degree, every take of every day, all the way through.
Let me ask you this, not from the fans' perspective and not from Howerton's or Charlie's or anybody's perspective on the show. Is there a favorite Luther moment that you enjoy the most that stands out to you from that show?
Oh gosh. Well, geez, I mean, it's all just special. I mean, I just think, I got to say, my opening episode, which is the final episode of the second season, where they come and see me in jail. That was fun. That kind of delineates the character for me. I've done a lot of things since then that have been neat, but I still use that scene on my demo clips for casting directors for playing funny bad guys, because I did some bad guys in things like Step by Step or Head of the Class, where I'm playing drug dealers or bikers, and I'm dangerous characters that are funny, but it's just a little heightened, and where you're kind of dangerous guy and they think you're going to be out there. I'd really like some sparkling water, and everybody just cracks up because a guy who's dangerous, a biker, all the long hair, you think he just wants some alcohol or something.
Where's my sippy cup?
And so I was playing, so it's just playing funny bad guys, but that's a difference where in those characters like Step by Step, Head of the Class, where I did play characters where I did up the humor a little bit, but I still play them honestly. I just I up at the intensity a little bit, and by upping the intensity, that kind of increases the stakes and makes some things a little funnier, as opposed to
it's so crazy because for as a ridiculous comedy as Always Sunny is, your character actually it evolves into this really serious conversation about father and son dynamic when a son is questioning his sexuality and things like that. So Mac finds his pride, that episode. This is a two-parter. So that
I'm gay.
the show took a dramatic and serious turn as it's ever been, and you played a pivotal part in that.
Rob was amazing.
How did you approach that twist in tone? And the second part of that question is, it felt like that kind of concluded the relationship, or the arc between Mac and Luther. But do you know?
I don't know. I just know what they did is they filmed that whole dance the dance sequence that Rob did, Mac Lane, and with an incredible professional dancer, and it was so beautiful. And they played it on a screen in front of all the guys in the prison. So I was sitting there watching along with all of them, fresh and new. And they had already filmed it in advance. And to see him go from my son, who all of a sudden, doesn't get his dad's approval when I kind of walk out on him, and I felt horrible doing it, right? Yeah, as a person, Greg, doing it. And then all of a sudden his heart starts beating again, and he starts coming back, and he finds himself, and he's okay with himself for the first time in his life. And, it brings tears to your eyes. And we were just blown away, touched. And I begged, when they came around to my close-up, I begged them to just say, can't we just have Luther just accept him once, maybe? And they said, Charlie went, no, we can't. We still got to have that thing. And, where dad still doesn't accept him, but he finds his own security with himself, with who he is anyway. And I felt horrible.
It's kind of thing. And he hasn't made it to this part in the series yet, but dude, I was waiting for the punchline. I was waiting for a punchline because this is a comedy, and this was the series, the season finale.
For season 2?
No, it's this is one of the recent ones.
Season 15 or 14.
Oh wow, yeah, I definitely haven't made it there.
Yeah. The whole season ends on this somber note. No joke, no punchline. Just they went serious.
Wow, and that rarely happens. Then
don't want to give too much away, but his character is always delved with the whole macho thing. Like I'm going to be man and tough.
Well, I don't know who's more macho, him or Dennis's. No, not Dennis's. Mac's mom. Who's his dad? It's Charlie's mom.
No, it was Mac's
mom was like, I'm
she's
ugly.
the one with the cigarette. She's my ex-wife. Yeah.
Y'all belong together.
Mac was I just give you a little heads up where he heads because of all that over macho stuff with all the karate and the macho and all. Well, then, the secretly thing that, he might be gay. And that scene that's later on is where he comes out and his father finds out that he is and is embarrassed by it. And
not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. I
was Seinfeld right there. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. But actually, it was quite touching, and I was incredibly moved by just even shooting that scene that day.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of being moved, I know we asked you about Luther's favorite moment, but you as a person, as a human being, as a fan of film, as a fan of people who can act and make you laugh, was there a favorite moment, whether it was on screen or off screen, that you shared with the gang?
I can't pick one out. I got to tell you, that's one of the shows that every day you're on the set. I love all of them. Rob, Charlie, Glenn, Caitlin, Danny,
Sweet D.
I mean, it is the minute you walk on the set. Oh, it's so good to see all this laughing as if it is just a joy every minute I work. And I said this one day, and I shouldn't have said it. I said, I do this for free. I mean, because I really, I really enjoy this. So I used to do theater for years for free in college. I would just do this for the fun, but they're actually paying me, so I won't turn it down. But it's that much fun. And when you're doing something like that, and you can work long hours on it, but with those guys, it's all a joy. I couldn't pick one moment. It would be just impossible. They're just all such wonderful, kind, giving people, and they're all just, the way they appear on screen and in interviews, that's the way they are in real life. They are just kind, caring, giving, funny people. They're just wonderful. And I'm not just saying that because I'm kissing up. That's what it's like to work on that show. Anybody who works on that show will tell you the same thing. Yeah. It is just a joy to work on that stuff.
Have you watched their podcast at all? Where they go back, they give you a lot of love on there. They get every time an episode that you're in, they're
very kind to me. Dennis is very jealous of my incredibly good looks.
Of course, his bone structure, his face was getting fat.
I know he's fasting. I think he took his whole good looking routine off of what I used to do off the set with me being Greg, and he suddenly introduced that to his character being so attractive and vain. But, I know he got it from me because he's been jealous of me ever since I was there on the set the first day.
Well, at least I'm not alone anymore.
Now, before we move on from Always Sunny, I just want to ask one more time: is Luther's character done on there, or is there?
I don't know. That's the thing about things that are recurring roles is
translation NDA.
Yeah, it's just if they decide to write me in with something else that comes with a plot line they can think of. But I was just happy that they wanted to keep me going for a while because, you don't usually get that where they just say, hey, let's have him back for another season, two-parter, and then maybe another season, and then let's write something else. Because Max, my son's character, his whole through line of his character and who he was so related to his relationship with his dad. And so even though I wasn't there all the time, they were talking about it a lot. So I think my character got more exposure because they were always referring back to Luther and Dad and this, and Dad's tough and Dad's hard and badass, and
here's the next chapter of Luther and Mac's relationship, and I'm pitching this. You guys can have it if you want it. Luther comes back. He buys a piece of property right next to the bar for some money laundering front or something, so like a barbershop or a cafe. And now him and his Mac and Luther the father-son thing is over. Now they are competitive businesses, and there's a whole new dynamic.
Oh, I like it. So like a barbershop kind of thing. Did you say?
I mean, the what the business actually is doesn't matter because you're setting it up to launder money.
I like that because Luther should still be Luther, but to some degree reform, but still be one dangerous mofo.
Yes.
And
cutting the kid's hair,
and like be a barber.
Yeah.
And cut hair.
I'll just take a little off the top.
Want me to give you a shave?
It's Sweeney? Yeah. It's Sweeney Todd?
With the blade
right next to
that would be perfect because I had some scenes where I was doing the thing on the movie with Robert De Niro where I was stalking them. They thought I was stalking them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but in one of the episodes. But I like that. I like that. We should definitely have a spin-off series with Luther. Yeah,
let's do it. Just let the guys know. Durden Godfrey will come in. He'll write it free of charge. No, we'll make it happen.
Well, there's one caveat. Mr. Royal needs to show up in an episode. You write it for free. Your only price is I got to act in it.
Okay.
I'll take a small role.
We're already in the contract. We're in negotiations now. All right. Okay. Before I could stay on that for forever, but you did not. You went on to play Detective Moore, aka Crate, on Bosch. This was from 2014 to 2021, and then you returned for Bosch Legacy this year. This seems like easily your longest running character that you've had the most time to really flesh out and build a relationship with fans of the show as well as your fellow cast and crew.
Mm-hmm.
What's that experience been like for you?
Well, that's just a culmination for me of playing bad guys for all the years that I did. You just get on a show, you're dead, you're off. You get on a show, you're off. You get on a show, you're off. And all the episodic TVs that I would do, you 1 episode, 2 episodes, you're dead, you're off, you're caught. And I wanted to get in running roles for years. But every time I would shave my face, shave my beard, I have that baby face, and I'm 6'4", so I made all the stars and the names look short, so they didn't want me as sidekicks, and I couldn't maybe get the leads because I wasn't that romantic whatever lead or whatever. So it's harder to get the lead roles of series. So you kind of got to fit in the slots, and I didn't look like a bad guy when I would go to the bad guy auditions because you don't look like a bad guy. You got I could act like it, but they wanted me to look meaner, so I would kind of go 3 or 4 months without working until I grew the beard back again. So to have a role that I've wanted for years, that would be something where I'd have a recurring and running a regular character. I've been wanting that for years, and it just boy did I hit the jackpot on Bosch. I mean, I couldn't be working with better people. The actors, the producers, Michael Connolly, Eric Overmeyer, Titus Welliver, the actors that have been on the show, everybody involved with it. This is such an A-grade project, and they shoot every episode almost like it's a feature film budget. They take the time and they really shoot it well. They have incredibly great cinematographers and directors of photography, and they're just really good. And so it just, for me, it's been, I'm kind of just riding along for the ride. I'm in heaven working on this show for all these years. I mean, and Troy, my partner on the show, Troy Evans, who plays Creighton Barrel, we feel very blessed, very, very happy to be a part of it. And I know I do. And to be working with Troy, it's really been great, because I was saying the other day to him, I said, it's kind of like we're not playing individual characters, we're a team.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like 1 and 1 make 3, it's like we're a better thing together. Like we're better than each of us could be individually, as a team. But no, it's great. Everybody on the show is wonderful. And for me, career-wise, it's just allowed me to ease into my senior years, where I'm 66 now, and still be working. And that's not. I'm just grateful for that. But everybody on the show is wonderful, and the recognition, playing a police officer on that show or whatever. The police officers around the country, the people who appreciate that show. My niece is a police officer. My cousin is a retired San Francisco police officer. I have many friends that were former police officers, but the people I've met since then, they love this show so much, because they say this is really what it's like. This does more than any other show on TV or streaming or anything that's ever been done. This shows what detectives and police officers really go through: the political, the social ramifications, the details dealing with criminals, the politics of the offices, the relationships, the danger, the humor. It just represents the show to them, and I feel a responsibility for what I do, and we all do, to represent that, because I revere them so much. They're such heroes in my mind.
Amazing.
It's a tough thing to imagine. Sometimes you're on the set and you're walking around with a gun, and you really go, God, are people really doing this every day with guns in their hips and arresting? I mean, their lives are on the line every minute. They're in a situation, and people don't realize the stress that takes. It's not easy. But as far as being a part of the show, I'm in heaven, and amazing. I just fit where I was at the right place at the right time to give the right audition, and thank God they kind of kept us characters going each season, and it's just
amazing.
I'm just grateful.
Let me ask you, and thank you for saying that, because a lot of times people struggle with bringing characters to life and dealing with what they deal with. So thank you for letting our audience know that. Let me ask you this here. All jokes aside, and again, I'm not jealous of your career. I'm actually thankful and to talk to someone like you, and happy for you and all the things that you have done. But I do want to ask. Oh, no, thank you. Trust me, I'm honored to even be speaking with you, but I do want to ask this. No, I mean, come on now. It was 95% true. All right. So with that being said, I do want to ask this. With as much experience as you've had, all the directors, all the cinematographers, DPs, extras, craft services, stuntmen, everybody you work with, what advice would you give to that aspiring actor that's out there right now?
If you enjoy acting and you want to do it for fun, do theater, do community theater plays, whatever, it's an incredible thing. You find out what's going on with yourself psychologically, you learn to handle your emotions, how to, but in terms of becoming a professional actor, it's kind of like anything. I compare it to athletics. Sometimes the best, most talented people might not even make it in the pros, because there are a lot of things that can get in the way, including themselves. But you got to want it. I mean, you got to want it bad. I mean, you can play college football and be casual about it and say, hey, you know, I got talent, I get by in college, get a college degree. But you go to play pro sports, pro baseball, pro football, you got to be dedicated. And you can't think of acting any different, because everybody I know that's gotten into the business that I've met, that I've worked, they have to do it. And they treat it seriously. And it's a passion beyond just something I'd like to become famous. Maybe I'll do this to become rich, or you know, people recognize me or whatever. You've got to have something there to grab you, because it is not an easy job. It's not as easy as it looks. A lot of hard work, long hours, days and nights, heat and cold. It's exhausting, but it's rewarding. But you gotta want it, you know. And for me, I loved it so much, acting, in college when I chose to do it for a career. I didn't care about if I become a star, if I am rich. I just wanted to make enough to make a living. And that's why I left theater, because I realized 3/4 of the theater nationwide, I love theater. I didn't ever want to leave theater, but 3/4 of it is musicals. And I can sing, but I don't have that great singing voice. And I wanted to make a living. So I said the best way to make a living was come back to TV and film for me. And that was my goal, is to just make a living and then go from there. Tom Berenger said to me once, he said, I was talking about doing, picking this, how do you decide which roles to pick? And he just said, just work. Just take the work and go do good work. And that will just get you more good work. It's not about going to parties and meeting people and this. It's just go do good work and treat you got to want it. You got to love doing it. That's it. And that's it. You got to love doing it. And that's it. And if you don't love doing it, don't try it, because you probably aren't going to make it. And because you're going to get a million no's. You're going to get the door slammed in your face. They're going to say you're too short, you're too fat, you're too thin, your hair isn't right, you got the wrinkles there. You can't be emotionally insecure. You can't be personally insecure. You can't want it so bad that you just cry every time you don't get some. You gotta have it together, but you gotta go after it. But it's hard to describe. If somebody's selling a house, you don't get jealous if somebody doesn't like the house. You don't get offended. Somebody didn't like the house, you go show them another one. But when you audition, a lot of people think they turned me down.
Yeah.
They didn't like me, and then you can get all emotional and weird about that. But you can't do that. You got to look. Sometimes it casts people because your height, sometimes your weight, sometimes your hair color matching with other actors. And people do different jobs, different acting jobs, different performances. So it's a kind of crazy way to make a career. But Tom Hanks said it best: just be good.
Mm-hmm. I like that, because again, you're being very honest and forthcoming, and that's something people definitely need to hear. Let me ask you.
But you gotta want it. You gotta make a dedication that this is what you're gonna do for your life, no matter what, and you gotta know that you're going to hit a lot of obstacles, and it's going to take that love and desire for it to fight through those obstacles. If you don't have that, not a lot of people, it's really hard to people that don't have that usually fall by the wayside.
Thank you for sharing that. And before we move on to the final portion of our goodbyes and parting words, I want to take you back to that prison recreation hall. Mac's on the stage. He's dancing. He just finishes. I want to give Gregory the chance to give Luther the chance. Could you please tell Mac that you love him?
I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I think I can. Because I just get up when he says the thing about being gay, and I get embarrassed in front of the guys in the prison. I kind of walk off in disgust. Basically, if I just go, God, that's kind of hard to do, because I'm not doing it for so long. I had a scene where I got shot in the video game, and where he shot me, and I go, I love. And then I got cut off, and he goes, "You love what? You love what?" And
yeah.
I was trying to say something, so I said, Mac, I love you.
Oh,
I love you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. So before we say goodbye, do you have anything coming out that you'd like to let the audience know about besides the continuation of Bosch?
I just had a SWAT episode air. I played a bad guy on that. But as far as we're going to start work next week on the Bosch Legacy Season 2. So that'll be hopefully the next thing. But hopefully there'll be some other things in addition to that. They're going to have Crate and Barrel back for maybe some episodes, 2, 3, 4, something like that. I'm not sure. I'll find out shortly. But we'll be in Season 2 of Bosch Legacy. And they're going to bring us back, so that's good. Don't know. I never know how many until they call us. But I'm locked into work here in early September on the first episodes.
Awesome, Greg.
Awesome. And before you leave us, before we say goodbye, are there any parting words you want to leave with the audience? It can be advice, it can be a scripture, it can be a quote, it can be a FU. It doesn't matter. Any parting words you would like to leave with our audience?
Oh gosh, well that's
right. That's all over the place, right?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
From scriptures to FU.
That's a tough one. That it's getting deep here.
Oh, that's the name of my book, From Scriptures to FU. I just came up with the name of my book, From Scriptures to FU.
From Scriptures to FU. I love it. Well, I gotta say, I'm just gonna say something simple. I just said to everyone out there, be as good a person as you can be. This world is crazy. There's a lot of evil and hardships for people and suffering and starvation. Just make the world a better place in whatever way that you can.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Great. It's been an honor to talk to you. Thank you.
And I do
so
mean
much.
that, dude. This we usually say that. We don't usually say it, but sometimes it's just, whatever. But this is truly one of the best interviews we've done. Your answers were great. You had good stories. It was in and out. And
I legitimately got chills when you used the Luther voice. I'm not lying.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I have never been interviewed by anyone that had the skill and the research and the ability. And you guys are freaking good. I mean, I don't know where you are now with your audience. Let me tell you, you guys are heading up big time because you guys have talent, serious talent.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, and hold the conversation, the stuff you're remembering, the stuff that you got, your interview skills. I mean, it is out of this world. I mean, just totally out of this world. I'm telling you, you guys, I don't know how long you've been doing this.
It was about 1 year and 8 months now.
We can only aspire to be as good as you look, sir.
Well, that's hard.
We've been doing the channel for about 18 months.
I'm making God
now.
a little jealous with my good looks, but let me tell you seriously though, you guys are headed to the stars. I'm telling you, you guys got it. Totally got it. You guys are big time.
I appreciate it.
I'm impressed as hell. You've just impressed the heck out of me. Seriously.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, seriously,
we're gonna clip that.
It's in my mind. I don't even need to see it again. I heard him say it. So listen, but just do us one favor before we let you go. I don't know what you got coming up in the future because I had to step out for a second, but I will say this. Please let this not be the last time we speak. We want to talk to you again with your future projects, and let's do this again sometime.
You got my number, you got my email, you got my phone. Give me a call, stay in touch. Do not hesitate to touch base.
We'll do it.
And best wishes with whatever call you're waiting on and working on today. Best
wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon, sir. Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right,
no, seriously. You guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
No, you man.
Come inside and I can fight you. Come inside and I can